Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Primer #1 from Comico, a 1982 comic book. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color, and now 20 pages. Hopefully, I keep going back between 12, 16, and 20 pages, and I'm hoping that that now we can go on and just continue being a 20-page comic book every month. That would be fantastic. This newest issue is one of the, I believe this is the first 20-pager, and it has me, Alex Turbin, Jamie Barrows, Jeremy Duncan, Swayze, Doug Roberts, Jake Quirk, and logos and stuff by Neil Devlin. So it's really a fantastic book. You can find it at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. It's going to be on my new website called Comics Creators Marketplace, and I'll be telling you more about that as the weeks and months come along and come and go. And but like I said, you can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can message me at alexturbin04401 at Yahoo or alexturbin04401 at Instagram. And there's some really fantastic work by a bunch of great artists, and we will be showing you more and more as we go along. But now, why we're all here, Comico Primer #1. It misses the fantasticity of being Primer #2, which is the first appearance of Grendel. And as everyone knows, characters are usually the drivers of higher prices for comic books. Yes, creators are the secondary driver of comics, but characters are where it's at. And Comico Primer #2 has the very first appearance of Grendel, Matt Wagner's Grendel, which is a fantastic read and fantastic story, everything. But then it started with #1. Comico was a few guys, three guys, I think, that were in either high school or college together, and they wanted to all create comic books, and they wanted to create a comic book company, and they named it Comico. I don't know if it's supposed to be Comico or Comico. I forever will call it Comico. I don't care. So they each had stories, and then later on it was turned into an anthology, because it was really a jumping off point, much like Random Access is for me. And it's a jumping off point for comics to be in their own magazine, in their own books, and characters and creators to just branch out, kind of just show you what's going on, see if you like it, branch out if they can, and kind of see what's going on from there. This is a really nice copy. Usually it goes for, I got this for like $1 or something like that at Goodwill or something. But this is a super nice, clean copy. Probably getting a 9.8 if I ever sent it into CGC. Which yes, I do send stuff into CGC once in a while. I haven't in a long time, since the comic book really industry kind of collapsed after COVID. But you never know, I might start up again. So anyway, there's 3 different stories, and we're going to use our handy dandy trusty bookmark to we're going to look at one of the stories, and then we're going to bookmark it, and then we're going to look at the other stories later on at another time. They are a little bit longer, so that's good. But let's jump into this. So the first story is by Jerry Giofinco. I'm truly sorry, Jerry, if I get your name mispronounced. But he is one of the creators of the comic book company, and this is all his stuff. Excuse me. It's called Slaughterman, and it does go into its own series after this issue. It actually continues from this issue into its own series, and it starts off with #1. I believe there's a #2, but then he stops creating comic books. He's also a clown, so he does the clowning things. But he also, maybe, I think that it just publishing the comics, because Comico kind of took off with Matt Wagner and Elementals and Battletech. Battletech was a big one. And they got all these properties that they kind of blew up as a company, and they started national distribution in bookstores, and so they were selling a good amount of comics, and so they just kind of blew up. And I kind of think that that's just why he stopped doing his art and his writing. It's too bad, but because I feel like I've seen issue 1 and 2. I don't have them, but I've seen pictures of them, and it really, really, truly looks like he was somebody that could have broken out to be a fantastic artist. And like you can see the how much better he gets, panel from panel, page to page, issue to issue. So if you just kept up with it, he could have, come up with something really spectacular. It was not Slaughterman, I don't think. Slaughterman, it's got a lot of weird things going on, but we will get into it, and then we'll go back and look at the writing and the art and stuff, as we always do. Starts with a group of thugs or space pirates or space something. They're on a different planet. Never actually says that, but it kind of doesn't really have to. And then there's a heroine. Do not allow her to escape. She is tougher than most, but you should expect that. After all, is she not the wife of my greatest foe? So they're just kind of fighting, and she's getting tackled, but she's giving up a good fight. And but they finally knock her out. They punch her in the back of the head, and you see that she is the wife of Slaughterman. So then she gets thrown in front of this diabolical bad guy. Lovely. Come now, Morgan. Your head is much too hard for you to be hurt seriously. Oh, you're scum, Denwald. So Denwald is the name, and she spits in his face. Ah, Miss Slaughterman, just the type of trite response I had anticipated from you. And then he pushes her down. And you may as well enjoy yourself while you can. Soon there will be no need for you to live. You are merely a pawn in my deadly plan. While in Bolta, I wish they had. If it's another world, if it's on an alien planet or something like that, I kind of wish you would give a little bit of a backstory. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just could be like, while in Balta, third moon of the Rexar system, many miles away from Earth, or something like that. Just kind of like the Star Wars intro is so great because you're not just thrown into this melee of weird things happening on another planet and all this stuff. It actually gives you a little bit of context. And that's really what this comic in particular, because so much weird stuff happens, that a little bit of context would have been good. So this is Slaughterman, and he is a protector of the king. He's one of the king's guards. But the king says, I've got news for you. But Slaughterman already knows that his wife has been taken captive, and the king says, why haven't you gone and saved your wife? And Slaughterman says, I'm your most trusted bodyguard, and I will stay here to protect you. And the king says, I have plenty of protection. Go save your wife. Nobody's going to be surprised or bothered or anything if you go save your wife. It's just kind of a done. It's needed to happen. So this is when it gets a little bit weird, because Slaughterman puts his helmet on. So I live to serve you and Bolta until I die. So he puts his helmet on. He's got this cool set of armor. And then he starts, I'll just read it. My men have been briefed. At least I am sure that Bolta is prepared in my absence. Now to board this flying machine. I must admit, I'll never get used to these gifts from the sky. These ships, my armor, our weapons. Don't really understand what that means, gifts from the sky. He's on another planet. It doesn't mean, in my imagination, this whole thing is a child's imagination, and he's playing with the action figures of Slaughterman and what's his name? What's the bad guy's name? Denwald. Denwald's the bad guy. In my imagination, these are action figures, and Slaughterman needs something. He needs armor. Boom! The kid throws down some armor. or boom, he throws down a ship or whatever Slaughterman needs. But it's never actually says what happens. If anybody out there has Slaughterman #1 and or #2, please let me know if you read it and if I'm kind of right, if there's any kind of inclination that might be happening. Please let me know, because I would really appreciate it, because that would be really interesting. That would be a really interesting take on this. Without that, it reads a little bit like a power comic, because there's, like it says, there's gifts that he gets. And he says, they have quenched my thirst of the adventurer in me. No, they could only have moistened my parched soul. Nothing compares to the expectation of being thrown into the air by one of these conveyances. Nothing, that is, except for the sweet embrace of my wife Morgan. So written very contrived, but not in a bad way. If you think that it's really a child's imagination, I think that's really could possibly be. So he's speeding off to, and there she should be, one of those spires of Dun, the domain of Denwald, the destroyer. So he's the main bad guy. Gods, it is unfortunate that the gift givers have no favorites in this dispute. I'll just lose Denwald's men in the corridors of their own city. So he's flying through the city. I really kind of wish that there was more panels to this whole chase, this whole thing, and there was like a, this big single pager or splash page of the Denwaldian city, and then him like zooming around, and could have been fantastic. Would have been, should have been, could have been. And then, but they're shooting at him, but he gets rid of some of them, and he gets shot down, and he smashes to the palace. Because one of the things is, I think this guy, after he's done 2 or 3 issues, I think he gets the clarity of mind, of artistry, to be able to pull off a futuristic city like that. It's this is obviously reminiscent of Flash Gordon, of Buck Rogers. I'm sure he's watching the, I don't know when the Flash Gordon movie came out, whether it was after 1982. I think it was. I think maybe it was 84 or 85. But Buck Rogers was late 70s, so he definitely could have been watching that show and putting some of this into his comic books, and I really truly believe that he's gone through that. But also, if the Flash Gordon was before this, there's a lot of hints that he's taking things from that. He smashes onto the into the Empire's base, the throne room or whatever, and smashes through, and he puts his gun up to the advisor, and do not move, priest. What has Denwald done with my wife? These people expected this incident. They're barely fazed by the crash. Be calm, Slaughterman. Your wife is fine. Denwald treats her well. Why don't you forget about her anyway? So this is another weird thing. Like I said, there's a few weird things that go into this comic, but the priest offers a replacement for the wife. I would have thought that as Slaughterman is Denwald's mortal enemy, that Denwald would be preparing for Slaughterman's arrival, and that he wouldn't be offering, like, what if Slaughterman was like, all right, this girl looks hotter than my wife, I'm just going to take her instead. Not that would have ever happened, but what if he did? Surely this voluptuous beauty could keep you just as warm at night. And then, I don't know if he stabs him or he just punches him, I guess. Irk, I should break your face for that, but that would not teach you of love. Now, where is she? I'm going to read that again, because I didn't read it very well. And it kind of leads into the whole evidence that this is actually a power comic. He punches him or something. Irk, I should break your face for that, but that would not teach you of love. Now, where is she? Denwald has taken her into the desert. You will find her there. Dirt. This is very oddly written. This whole thing reeks of a trap, but I have no choice. I must save Morgan. So he lost his ship. So he says, damn, no flyers. I'll have to use one of those baubles. So a bauble is like a horse or whatever. And it's cool that he's made up his words for it. It's kind of like he's obviously taken stuff from Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars as well. Come on, Beast, what has you so frightened? And then he kind of ninnies a little bit. Huh? Yes, another craft from the sky. So it just appears out of nowhere, or it gets thrown down like I don't know. It's like either some sort of mighty god is throwing it down. Like I said, I think this is some sort of kid's imagination, or maybe it's just the creator's imagination, and maybe he's just thinking, what would happen if I was playing with these guys like action figures? I'll thank the gift givers later after I've saved my wife. So he takes off onto his land speeder there, and he goes off into the desert, and Denwald is kind of messing with the wife a little bit, and he's saying, am I any more sick than your husband, who at this moment flies into his death for you? Malcolm will not die at your hands, but he will because I am superior. Besides that, Jordal, as in he laughs, I cheat. So again, written a little bit oddly, although that is something I would expect from either what's his name from G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander. I would expect that from Cobra Commander or any of these 80s cartoons villains. I would expect that kind of dialogue from. Not so much Mum-Ra. Mum-Ra was the only 80s villain, I believe, that was truly kind of scary because he didn't have the sense of humor. Even Megatron did not have a sense of humor, but he kind of did. He kind of did have a little bit of a sense of humor. Whereas Mum-Ra, he had no sense of humor at all. He just wanted the Thundercats dead, and he was going to do anything he could about it. So it's kind of similar. A villain has a sense of humor. I don't think villains should have sense of humor. I don't think Darth Vader should be making, funny quips. It makes him a little bit less villainy, a little bit less scary. So that's just my opinion. So these two guards take her away after giving her some sexual harassment, and then Slaughterman zooms in on his slaughter bike, and then, welcome, Malcolm, to my little party. Cut the bubble, dung Denwald. Where's my wife? She is here, but dare I say, you are slightly outnumbered. Hee. I offer you a duel of honor, no weapons. So they're going to do a duel, a battle of one-on-one, mano a mano. Honor, you couldn't know the meaning of the word, but I have no choice, do I? No choice but to die, Slaughterman. Denwald attacks him and smashes his face into the dirt, but then ow, my hair, you fight like a girl. So here again is, I don't know if that's supposed to be humorous or if it's just, weird writing or what. But if it's effective, oh, you've hurt my face, you brute. I'll be disfigured for life. What a coward. Boo-hoo. So yeah, this boo-hoo, that makes even more to the fact that it's a kid playing with his action figures. Denwald, on your feet. Face me. This farce is over. Malcolm, be careful. Yes, you have defeated me. I surrender. Please help me up. Take my hands. Here, give me your hand and taste the latest toy of the gift givers. It is called electricity. So, gift givers, they have a big part of this story. And Malcolm! And he zaps Slaughterman. Morgan bellows his name, but in her heart of hearts she knows that he can never, ever answer her. Is the hero really dead? Find out in Slaughterman #1. So that is the end of the first story in Comico's primer. And I was doing some digging, and apparently Slaughterman is dead. He really is dead. He really was killed by Denwald, or whatever his name is. Yeah, Denwald. He really was killed. But then Denwald, I guess, takes over the world or whatever. But then another character, another Slaughterman, comes up to face him, and they're fighting and stuff. And it's eventually revealed to be her. So is Morgan pretending to be Slaughterman, and trying to get vengeance for the death of her husband. So it's very odd. He kills the main protagonist in the first, not even his first issue, in the first part of the story, I guess. And the bad guy wins. So there's a lot of quirky things going on in the story that I appreciate, I like, but it's kind of weird. The art, like I said, well, let's get into the writing. The writing is very, I don't know what to call it, power comics. It's power comics. It's very simple. The dialogue is very simple. The plot is very simple. It's got, like I said, these weird things where it has the gift givers, and it's just why, unless you know the rest of the story, which I don't, then it really, I guess it's a mystery that he wants to build on, and that's fantastic. I love mysteries, but I just wish I could have been given some glimpse of what was coming in the future. So yeah, I mean, it's got his cool costume, looks very cool, and the I guess the dialogue is actually pretty good. From where they come and why will always be a mystery, but one thing is sure: they have quenched my thirst of the adventurer in me. So it is good writing. It's hokey, but I think it means to be hokey. I think all of this stuff is really what means to be happening. I think the writer means to write like this. So is it just bad writing, or is it intentional and unusual and quirky and like a 50s or 40s or 50s serial kind of thing? Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, very simple thing. That's one thing that I have noticed about Power Comics, which is they are so reminiscent of 40s and 50s comic books. Golden Age comics are written very much like Power Comics, or vice versa. Power Comics are written very much like, because the old pulpy comics in the 30s, 40s, 50s were, they were really aimed for young kids. And so they were written very matter of factly, with not a whole lot of explanation of things that were going on. But that's a lot of power stuff too. But that's a lack of really knowledge on how to create a story in a way that's going to convey the characters and the scenarios that you want. So there's a lot I like about the writing. I like the plot is simple, but it works. It's effective. There's not a whole lot of pages that they have to work here with, but it's not rushed. It's not confusing, even though the confusing things happen. It's not confusing to read. I never really had to go back and reread anything, even though I was like, what the heck is going on here? It was more like a confusion of not knowing what's going on, not confusion as in things are out of the out in the wrong place, or something like that. It's more like confusion, not knowing what's going to happen next. I guess that's the best way to put that kind of confusion. So many things. Yeah, the writing, like I said, the boohoo, it's weird. I think it's intentional, and I don't know. I would have to read Slaughterhouse #1 to really understand if I truly liked it or not. I'm kind of on the fence so far on the writing. As for the art gets better. Every panel, every page gets better, and I really think that it's super Jack Kirby inspired. He obviously loves Jack Kirby, both in the aspect of the mechanical things, the sky bike, the all of that kind of stuff. But it's got a mix and match of all these other things: Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, Star Wars, all of these other things. And like, he's obviously supposed to be some sort of Ming the Merciless kind of character. But he also does this, oh, my hair, you fight like a girl thing. And I just don't know about the writing. And the art, it gets better and better every panel. It's filled with, I'm not entirely sure what you would call it. But there's a lot going on. He's got some really nice foreground and mid-ground things going on. He doesn't have much of backgrounds in anything, but that's okay because the characters are so filled. Like, if this was color, you really wouldn't notice that there's no backgrounds whatsoever, because they would be colored in with, a different color or whatever. That there are some backgrounds like this. The city is really cool, and like I said, I wish that they had more of that. I like these old style sky bikes, which is really reminiscent of the Flash Gordon, like I was saying. Same thing with the cityscapes. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he swiped a little bit of some of this stuff, but I don't know. It's hard to say. So many of these poses are so reminiscent of Kirby-esque stuff, the faces. And, he might have taken a few liberties with some of the things that he's done. But each one, like I said, each panel goes from, it goes from better and it gets better and better and better. I was reading a little bit of a review on the first Slaughterman comic book, and he said basically they were talking about the same thing, where some panels are really fantastic and then some panels are just like you don't know what the heck's going on. So I think that he's was learning his craft, but then he just stops. It is such a shame that he just stops drawing and writing. I guess I don't think he's written anything else. I would have really have loved to have seen him progress as an artist. I think this page in particular, he's got these three close-ups of the three main characters, and then he's got a little break in the action, and then he's got this whole thing. And I mean, this whole page is set up really nicely, and I think he would have done really, really spectacular things if he'd gone on and done more and more comic books. But anyway, this is Comico Primer #1, and Slaughterman by Jerry Giovinco. Again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I enjoyed it. It's weird, like I said, but it's got some unusual, imaginative things going on for it that are just not in any other comic book, not in any other story. And that really bumps up the quality for me. If it's something completely different than I've ever seen, then I really am going to enjoy it a lot more. And I did enjoy reading this, even though it's really kind of weird. So like I said, I usually give a 7. Base is 7. If I would go and get another issue, I would get Slaughterman. I would obviously get more primers just to resell them, but I would get more Slaughtermans. I would go get Slaughterman #1. I'm thinking about just going in paying the $6 or $7 to get it, because it's not incredibly expensive. But at the same time, I would pick him up in the dollar bin, no problem, just like that. So I'm going to give it an 8. I can't give it any more of an 8, because you can tell that he's such a young artist and such a young creator in his writing and his art that he's got a lot more to learn. But what he has here, what he's laid down as a foundation, is solid. But it's not spectacular. It's obviously not spectacular. But it's an 8 is really good, I think. And I was really pleasantly surprised by the first storyline. It's not something that I was expecting, really. So anyway, we'll put our handy dandy trusty bookmark right here to mark where we got the next issue or the next part of the story. Maybe next week or the coming weeks or whatever, I'll go into that. But if this is your first time on the channel, seeing the channel, maybe you're into Grendel, maybe you're into Primer, maybe you're into comics and you just have never seen my channel before. This is the kind of stuff I review, things people will not go over. One of the reasons that I started doing this is because Cartoonist Kayfabe kept going over the same stuff. I love Frank Miller, love Alan Moore, love John Tolteben and all of these fantastic artists. I don't need to see them every episode of Cartoonist Kayfabe. They should have branched out and looked at other stuff, because there's a whole ton of really fantastic comic books out there. And especially I want to talk about reading comic books. You've got to read your comic books. You never know what you're going to find. You might find that you hate it, but you've got to read it in order to find out if you hate it or love it. So yes, look at the pictures. They're wonderful. Read all your comics. So this is the kind of stuff I do. If you like it, indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, really whatever I think is unusual and different is something that I'm going to go over. But thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, all of that cool, fun stuff. And it's Monday, so we've got lots of cool stuff coming up. And again, thanks for watching, and read all of your comics and keep on creating.